I'm the Professor Jim Price. It is the Homegrown Rocker, where local and regional music come to play every Sunday night. And, of course, you can hear the show every Sunday, 8 to 10 p.m. on Q94 Classic Rock, and that's online at Q94ClassicRock.com, and also from 10 p.m. to midnight on 107.1 and 101.3 Jack FM, and that, too, online at 107.1jack.fm. And this evening on the show, we have a guest. We will meet him momentarily. Got to speak with Alex Shumaker, who is a rising young artist from the Punxsutawney area. Alex will be sharing his story. He started playing music at a very early age, and at the age of 19, he has done some pretty incredible things already in his music career, and we're going to find out all about that here in just a few moments. And we have a guest in the studio on this week's Homegrown Rocker. His name is Alex Shumaker from the Punxsutawney area. Alex, say hello to our audience.
How's everybody doing?
All righty. And I guess the logical place to begin, tell us your story so far. How did your musical journey get started?
Well, I started out as a drummer. I was about 5 years old. Never really thought I was going to get into music until I went to Walmart and I saw all these DVDs, and there was one up there, Journey, because I grew up off of classic rock, Journey, Foreigner, Night Ranger, Styx, just to name a few, Bruce Springsteen. So then I went home, I watched the whole thing, I just started beating on stuff, actually. It was kind of weird. Like I said, never really something I thought that I would want to get into. Started with my mom's kitchen utensils, I broke all of those, and then my dad came home from work, cut me some coat hangers, and I took the exercise ball. So then that whole entire night, I can't even remember. It was whenever I was 5, but just that whole night, I was just beating on stuff. So then my grandparents called because my mom posted on Facebook, and the post said, "Got to do what you got to do when your parents won't buy you a drum set." So my grandparents said, "Well, whenever you come up to our house in DuBois, PA, there's a music store up there, we'll think about getting you a drum set." So they got me this little starter kit, and I would just sit in my room for hours, sit in the living room, and then finally we moved them upstairs. 5 or 6 hour days. I'd come home from school, and honestly, the only time I would stop, it was whenever I'd be eating, and it didn't sound that good. My parents tell me now, they were like, we didn't really know how I was going to go at first, but they said, your passion for it was something crazy that they didn't really think that I was going to get into. So then as the years went on, I got my first real drum set. It was a Tama Silver Star. And then we just decided to start doing videos and post them on social media. It was my mom's idea too. I was kind of opposed. I was opposed at first to it. But as it went on, I'm like, this is kind of cool. And it was something I never really thought about, and then it just kept progressing. And then I would sit in with a few other bands, and that's something else we can get into later. Like there was a few bands that I sat in with, and the main one too now is a band that I'm actually in called Fuse out of Evansburg area, Nanny Glow. And so, yeah, years were progressing, and then I had a video go really viral, The Outfield Your Love, whenever I was about 8 years old. Got millions and millions of views all through Facebook and YouTube, and it's still my biggest thing to this day. I got a lot of people texting me all the time, and actually it blew up again. There was this guy, Colby Fulton, who actually went on, and, he does these drummer reactions to these videos, and so that kind of blew it up again, and there was a lot of people texting me. They're like, "I had no idea. I'd known you for all these years, and I had no idea that you even did this," And so that was cool, too. And then I got into guitar a few years after that. Didn't really enjoy it as much because I was kind of so used to drums. I thought it would just be a little bit more natural and more comfortable to me, and then didn't really like it as much. So, the drum covers kept going pretty well. And then I had a Guns N' Roses one go pretty big. There's been a few of them that have had a lot of airtime on social media, and I got to go on a few TV shows too, just to talk about that whole story with that. But you want me to get into the whole thing?
Well, yeah, I guess my next question will kind of get into that a little bit, and that is, I know that you got invited on stage to play with some rather famous people along the way, too, and early in your journey. Kind of describe that sensation. How did it feel to be able to get asked on stage with, some pretty well-known names?
Well, I have a lot of friends in the music industry. Whenever one or two, it kind of opens up a door. Everybody knows everybody, so, we go to these shows, and I do apologize if I forget anybody, because all of them were very memorable, but there's so many of them too. But just to name a few, like the coolest one that I got to really do was just meet my idol, Dean Castronova. Like, he's the reason I started playing drums, and he was with Journey. I met him in 2013, and I've seen him numerous times. But it started out too. I did Jason Aldean whenever I was younger. I did sound check with them, and Rich Redmond, really good friend of mine. Know the guys in the band as well. Did sound check with Foghat. I got invited to go do that. I've been on stage with Winona Judd. I did Florida Georgia Line sound check. Alice Cooper. I'm kind of drawing a blank a little bit. Jackal. Jackal was the biggest one. I can't forget about that one. I was 10 years old. We got a call probably in mid-November, and they're like, hey, we want you to come play with Jackal. We're going to set a drum set up. And we're like, okay, we never heard from him. We're like, okay, it's probably not going to happen, whatever. And then 2 days before the show, my mom gets a call at like 10 o'clock at night, like, hey, Jackal's playing in Sandusky, Ohio. They want you to come sit in because they saw your I Stand Alone video. So we go to Sandusky, the day of the show, like 10 o'clock in the morning. They're like, all right, this is how it's going to go. So it ends up happening. We did it, and that's still one of the biggest things that I've done that a lot of people talk about. It was probably one of the most surreal experiences too, like most people I've ever played in front of, and a lot of other stuff too that a 10-year-old kid should not be seeing, but in a good way. Biker rally in Sandusky when you're 10, it was pretty cool though, pretty surreal. And then I've done some stuff too, like I said, just with the connections thing. I forgot, Tesla's a big part. Tesla Firehouse. Like I said, Alice Cooper's band, I'm going to see them. I guess whenever this is going to air, I've already seen them. But so yeah, there's been a lot of them. Like I said, if I forgot anybody, it's sometimes hard to remember because a lot of it's just so surreal, that I've been a part of that. One of my favorites was the Bonzo Bash. They do a tribute to John Bonham every year in New Jersey and California, out in LA. In 2014, I got to go to New Jersey and play with some of these guys like Brian Tichy. We were in Gibson Guitar Showroom, and I got to sit in and do a Led Zeppelin song. Brent Woods, just some really cool musicians that, a lot of connections to those guys, and, they're all really cool dudes.
Wow. Wow. Quite an early resume going there. That's pretty cool. Now, as far as of course, you're creating your own music. You started writing songs, and how would you describe the music that you're doing now?
It's kind of, I'm not going to say it's difficult to find a genre for it, but I mean, what I really wanted to go for, like the first two songs I did, I really started writing around COVID. Like I said before, I never really got into guitar heavy. I mean, I took lessons a little bit, but I never actually really sat down and just tried to look at the structure of it. I would just try and find ideas, and I had a teacher for a while, Kenny Murdoch. I went through Chris Gruda as well, and Garrett Rowan, good friend of mine, taught me some stuff as well. Matt Barnati, I always say his name wrong. Matt Bernani from Foghat actually came over and gave me a few lessons. But so around COVID, there was really nothing to do, and I was sitting around, and I'm just like, I'm going to try and learn the guitar. So I started writing songs. I was getting ideas, and at the time, I was probably 12 or 13. Not really the best songs in my opinion, because they're like, this is rubbish, whatever. But so I started writing, and I got into guitar a lot more, like started teaching myself some other stuff, and just really getting into the dynamic of it. So I started writing, and I really hit the studio, and I went Hollywood Studios in Pittsburgh. Good friend of mine, Matt Muckle, I've known him for a long time, really close. We talk every day on the phone. He's like, yeah, man, we have the studio in Pittsburgh, actually in Dormont, called Hollywood Studios, Matt Vaughn. So I cut those first two songs, This Old Guitar and Country Girls. We kind of rewrote certain aspects of them too. And then I actually had Danny Stagg from Kingdom Come. He was lurking around the studio. He came in and did some tracks on those songs as well. So those were the first two. So then after that, I decided that I wanted to do like a Morgan Wallen type thing. He has a few of those like rap country tunes, so I went with another friend of mine. We were just messing around at his house one day, and he has a mic. He has a little studio in his room, and we wrote this song. And then next thing you know, another half an hour, it's already recorded, and then another hour, it's done. So I did that, and that was probably one of my most successful within like just popularity in my town. A lot of my friends, like, they always joke around. They're like, in my head, that's what the song's called, In My Head. So that was just, it's always still a reoccurring joke, but it's probably my favorite out of the songs. And then year after that, finally got back in the studio, was with a good friend of mine, Ryan Reed. We cut some songs, and I actually did one that also was written in half an hour, and then in another half an hour it was done. So that's kind of more like a Zach Bryan, like a folkier, type of softer feel. But so this new album really consists of, I tried to put maybe 5 bands that you could throw in there, maybe 3 though. It has a lot of, but I'll do 5. A lot of Jason Aldean remnants, Zach Bryan, Treaty Oak Revival, they're a newer country act. A lot of Oasis in my writing, and then also just too with the guitar, like Def Leppard, because I wanted to try and keep an 80s sound. Like, I really want to bring the 80s sound back, because I love 90s country too, and there's a lot of stuff and messing with different tones and sounds, so it's honestly kind of just country rock, but there's a lot of folk in there too. It's kind of weird, it's hard to explain, but I want to create a genre that nobody really knows what the heck the name is of it necessarily, I guess.
All right. Well, you did mention the song that we're going to play here to kick off the music end of things. What would you like to say about This Old Guitar?
Well, that was a tune that I had written. My grandpa, really actually got me my first guitar. It was a beater guitar, but at the end of the day, I was like, this is really cool. And it was actually my great-grandfather's as well, so it was passed down. And Riley Green, big country artist, really love his stuff. He came out with a song, it's called I Wish Grandpa's Never Died. And whenever I was messing around starting out on guitar, that was before Riley actually had dropped that song. I actually had this riff that I used to take videos of all the time and say, like, this is going to be, I want to do a song about this. So Riley released that song, and I'm like, I really wish I could wrote something like that, So the whole idea came in, like, got my first guitar from my granddaddy, So it kind of just feeds into, just an old school tale in a way. Not a tale, but it's kind of just, I wanted to have like a nostalgic feeling on it, and it was one that we got done, and it holds pretty true to me too, whenever I play it live nowadays. And it's different though. It's different from what I'm going to be doing, because a lot of songs, especially on this new album, they sound different. And then there's a few that kind of have the same sound to them, but try and stretch everything out a little bit, but yeah, this is probably one of my favorites out of all of them. It's definitely a fan favorite within a lot of my friends and a lot of people in my town, they love this tune. So yeah.
Let's give it a listen. This Old Guitar, music from Alex Shumaker, and you are hearing him on the Homegrown Rocker.
I got my first guitar from my granddaddy. He used to strum me lullabies until I fell asleep. This old guitar's been through so much. It's got his spirit, man, I miss him so much. That's why I sing these words and play this old 6-string. That's right. I played this old guitar until my fingers bled. I think that's maybe something Bryan Adams said. I never thought that this guitar would ever take me oh so far, but this old guitar is truly my best friend. That's right. Sweet, sweet melody. This old guitar is all that I really need.
We also heard Alex Shumaker back there with his song, This Old Guitar.
Ready for classic rock,
where local and regional musicians come to play. The Homegrown Rocker.
Welcome back to the Homegrown Rocker, and again, I'm the Professor Jim Price. Alex Shumaker is my guest in the studio this evening, and Alex, we kind of established you are working on a new album. Or what projects are you working on? Is the album the only thing, or are there other things going on?
Well, I got a lot going on right now for sure. Like I said earlier, I'm in a band called Fuse. We're out of Evansburg, Nanny Glow area. You know, we play all over Western Pennsylvania. Been doing that for about a year and a half now. It'll be a year or 2 years in January. You know, love those guys, Nick George, Rick Hartman, and then Brett Mahalan. Really good guitar player, good friend of mine. You know, he's helped me out a lot whenever it's come down to doing my acoustic shows. You know, because whenever we're not having Fuse shows, I do a lot of acoustic shows. And so I've been sending him a lot of these songs for the album, you know, because that's another thing, too. I'm going to be starting up my own group here pretty soon, the Alex Shumaker Band, to get those songs out there and just start something different, you know, and be a front man for once. That's the thing that I'm kind of not necessarily nervous about, but, you know, it kind of break me out of my shell a little bit from being behind the kit, you know, going out front and singing and... So, yeah, I'll be doing that as well. But like I said, yeah, I send Brett a lot of the stuff, you know, the songs. And whenever I track something, a lot of the demos and everything, he's like, wow, man, that sounds huge. He's like, I can't wait to be a part of that. And so, yeah, you know, I probably in the studio at least 3 or 4 nights out of the week, sometimes 5. Good friend of mine, Caleb Harmon, out Clarion area, Soundshed Studios. We've been working on this since probably the end of July, honestly. But, you know, like I said, I've been writing for years. But really the writing for this album actually started maybe in 2022 is whenever, you know, every song on this album. There's going to be 12 songs. You know, it's my debut album. So I want to try and make it perfect. You know, there's going to be some stuff along the way. But it's been going pretty well, though, too, just seeing the whole tracking process. And I also am... doing almost all the instruments on it, you know, 95% of the instruments. You know, I have some of my studio friends that hang around, you know, they come in and put some input on it. You know, Caleb will do some of the bass lines. I might actually bring Brett in to do some leads here pretty soon. Talking about a feature with my friend Jared Berry. You know, we're trying to get a song together. He's from Indiana area. He has his own thing going on right now. So just trying to get everything to fall into place, you know. Just because I have so many influences, all sorts of different genres too, you know, that I listen to, and it's kind of different when you're doing it yourself, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things, so I'm trying to make sure everything's perfect in the end and filter things out the way I want to, like, you know, what song should be in what order, and, you know, if I do a few transitions, there are going to be a few transitions on the album from one song to the next, and I just kind of want to take, you know, the listeners on a journey, you know.
How may listeners check out your music? Where can they hear your music or even download it?
Well, pretty much everywhere. I mean, there's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Pandora, anywhere you listen to music. YouTube's a big one too. But anywhere you check out music, I think they're on SoundCloud too. I know SoundCloud's on its way back up because people will put them on there. You know, it's kind of like make your own type thing on there. But it's been up and down. I mean, there's some songs that have higher views than others, but you know, I'm really excited about these ones that are coming out too. Just because I send them to a lot of my friends, and I've gotten great feedback. And it's just this album too. It's like it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I've kind of told my fans like, yeah, I've teased stuff through the years, like, oh, it's coming out. We're doing an EP. I had a whole EP lined up in 2021 and kind of fell through. So just excited, to see. But like, I don't know, man. I mean, some songs do better than others do. It's kind of hard to tell anymore.
All right. Well, we're going to go with another song at this point. What would you like to say about Country Girls?
Well, that was one I told my buddy Matt Muckle whenever we were writing it, and we co-wrote it together. I was just like, I want to write a song like you go to these country concerts, you see the girls there, and just... It was kind of different now. I mean, a different feeling now that I'm older. It was kind of hard to explain, but that was a song, too, that's like a really punchy in the stomach type song. Because you hear it at the start, you're like, oh, this is like I don't even know, maybe like a Kenny Chesney type thing. And then you hear the guitars coming in. It's like a Leonard Skinner, AC/DC, Jason Aldean type song. It's fun. It's a very fun song. I don't play it live as much, like acoustically, but once we get the band started out, that's definitely going to be one that I'm going to do. But that's also been a fan favorite through the years. So yeah, it's different though. It is a pretty good tune though. I enjoy it.
Let's give it a listen. Again, Country Girls, and again, it's music from Alex Shumaker, and you're hearing him on the Homegrown Rocker.
And their dirty boots, and they're for sure a spitfire, that's the damn truth. And when they sway to that Skinner song all night long, they got that right, they sure got that right. Oh, when they get a little crazy, they wanna be a baby and ride in your truck all night. I love them country girls, I love them country girls, I love them country girls, I love them country girls. I love them tail lines, they love my tailpipes on my 1984 flatbed Ford. I love the southern bells out raising hell, and they're never ever gonna kiss and tell. And when they're singing to Shania all night long, redneck honky tonk but dog, she's built for it tough. I love them country girls, I love them country girls, I love them country girls, I love them country girls. Those girls from the dirty south, you can't believe they're potty mouse. Them Alabama slamming girls, I really love their blonde curls. Those Tennessee girls will probably be the death of me. I love them country girls, I love them country girls, I love them country girls, I love them country girls. Let's hear it for those country girls.
Let's get back to our conversation with Alex. And again, we have Alex Shumaker in the studio on the Homegrown Rocker this week. And we're going to get into your live performances, Alex. Talk about your live shows. And we'll start with your solo show. What happens when you get on the stage in a solo circumstance?
So I've been doing those for a few years now, probably 2 or 3. And it's different for me, you know, because I've always been a drummer, and just trying to go out and start singing. Like I always, you know, like I sing in the shower, sing in the car, you know, whatever. And then, you know, there's a few times I'm singing a few songs, and, you know, I'd sing them in front of my parents. They're like, wow, you sing those pretty well, you know. And if, you know, my friends and I, we have get-togethers or whatever, you know, we're around a campfire sitting on a porch, you know, I'll always bring my guitar, and they always look forward to hearing it. You know, we'll sit out there for hours. You know, one night was until the sun came up. I'm sitting there playing guitar for all my friends, you know, and they love that we're singing along, you know. And so it's a little bit different. It was something that I really had to grow into. And some shows that I do, not necessarily dependent on where they're at, but, you know, I've never really gotten nervous for doing shows. Like, you know, playing drums to me, it's like riding a bike. It really doesn't bother me that much. You know, I mentioned the Jackal show. There was 20,000+ people there. I walked out. I'm like, hey, guys, how you doing? You know, but some of these acoustic shows, you know, and it really hit me a few weeks ago. I played a show in my hometown, you know, really close friends, a lot of close friends were there. You know, close friends own this venue, and I was getting over a sickness, and, you know, it kind of hurts me a little bit because I can't give 100% to the crowd. You know, I see a lot of these bigger artists out there nowadays, you know, they're canceling shows and stuff, you know, and it's tough though. So, I mean, I was kind of hurt for a few days after the show, you know, because I just feel like I didn't give it my all, you know, because I was battling sickness for a week or two. But so I usually play for 3 hours, depending on the shows. And like I said, my guitar player, Brett, will come join me, and sometimes we'll have special guests. And so I do my original songs, and sometimes I'll throw in songs that are unreleased off the album, you know. And I do enjoy the acoustic shows because it gets me out there, it gets me practice, and, you know, it shows me what songs I can and indeed cannot sing, too.
Yeah, but then and they say too, and I know kind of experiencing it myself a little bit, that it's sometimes it's easier to get in front of a larger crowd than in front of like 8 to 10 people that you can see them, you know, looking back at you too.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's different. Like I said, I mean, I could play drums anywhere. It doesn't bother me, you know, and in front of anybody, how many people. But just singing, you know, it's just like I could go out and do a guitar, but, you know, I've always just been kind of like my biggest critic in a way. So I'm always, you know, giving myself crap. I'm like, you know, that doesn't sound good. That sounds terrible. Where you need to do better. You know, even in the studio too, I tell my producer, and I send it to my friends. I'm like, I want you to be 100% honest with me. Like, if this sucks, tell me, because I don't want to go out and release it and it not be that good. Like, I want to know right away, you know. And if something's not, you know, I live my life like this too. You know, if I'm not really 100% into something, then I'm not going to go at it. I got to be 100%, 101%, you know. 98, 99's pushing it. I got to be right at it. So if I just don't, you know, feel like that, and sometimes I go out for the shows, you know, solo shows, I'm like, I don't know, this is going to be tough, you know, just depending on how my mood is, you know, just if I can't sing or not that night, you know. I do get nervous during my solo shows occasionally because, like I said, it's not something that I'm really still used to yet. You know, it's still growing on me.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you about the other live situation you're in, and that is Fuse. What do you enjoy the most about being in the Fuse situation?
Oh, man. So, yeah, I was getting to that earlier. I was probably about 7 years old, and Nick George, the lead singer, I used to go back and set in with them whenever I was younger, and I did it multiple times. And then within the last few years, I would get calls all the time, you know, to come fill in shows, and I would be booked somewhere else playing with other bands. And so I got the call almost 2 Decembers ago now, you know, to come join the band, and it's been great ever since. Things have went really well. You know, we play around the Western PA area. We've played some really cool venues. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up here pretty soon. So it's done very well. It's just the bond and connection we have, you know, within the band. And the thing I really like the most too is my guitar player, Brett. We're all you know, we play multiple instruments. So there's a segment during our show, the last 2 songs of the first set, where he'll jump back on drums. I'll come out and play guitar, and which I love it too, because, you know, I'm kind of in my shell back behind the drums, you know, and I get to go out and we do a Van Halen song. Van Halen's one of my favorite groups. And then so Nick George, our lead singer, actually, he plays drums as well. That we'll do a Molly Hatchet song, Flirting with Disaster. Nick will go back and play drums, and me and Brett will be out there together on guitar. So that's one of my favorite things about the band is me and Brett switch around. And then also we do a Motley Crue tune. We do Home Sweet Home. I'll jump out front and I'll play keys with Brett on that song. So my favorite thing is just being with those guys. I mean, I love them all to death, and they've been nothing but real with me. It's went really well, and I've been in and out of groups through the years, and I've played with great musicians, and things are just going well. Not much to complain about.
Yep, and as to the sort of the musical chairs thing you were describing, I got to see that back in July 4th, Punxsutawney.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
during the festival.
That was a hometown show too, which it was a fun time too. It's always fun doing that 4th of July show too down in the park. A lot of hometown bands are down there. You got bands coming in from the other areas too, especially around here as well that come to Punxsy for that. But yeah, that is one really cool thing. We're trying to look in. For more stuff to do, more switching around, maybe just do a longer segment, because we've been kind of doing the same 2 or 3 songs for a while we're switching. But yeah, it is really fun though, for sure. I do really enjoy doing that. I know a lot of the people that come to see us play, they're like, wow, that was amazing. Me and Brett are just like, oh, we're doing it. And Nick always says, oh, well, these guys got bored, they're going to switch. So we switch a lot. But yeah, it's fun. It's cool.
Yep, and I looked at Fuse's schedule, and I noticed you guys are quite busy in the fall.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of shows. Well, whenever this already airs, we actually just did Jim and Jimmy's a few days ago in Johnstown. Really big crowd. Really, people were great. Awesome time there. And then, let me think about... Oh, we're at our campground coming up. There's this place called Honey Bear Campground in Huntington. We played there before. People were excellent. Awesome time. Great crowd. And then we're going to be in Pittsburgh. There's this biker thing. It's called the Still Rippers. We're going to be playing that, and we're really looking forward to that. But we had some shows in August and September. The biggest one, too, the coolest one was we opened for Firehouse. I'm really good friends with the guys from Firehouse. Michael Foster, the drummer, he's been really cool to me over the years, and I've sat in with them and gotten to share the stage with them. One other time too, my buddy's band was opening up for them, and I helped out just be a roadie or whatever. So we got to open up for them, and that was a great show. That was in Marion Center, PA, at the Raindrop. Great venue, great owners, great people there too. Then we just did Molly Hatchet a few weeks ago. Molly Hatchet was a good gig. So we've gotten to open up for some big things, big groups and some big events as well. We did Kingdom Come. That was last year. Matt Muckle, a good friend of mine, was drumming for them. But yeah, I'm looking forward to some of these fall shows. We got the Wicked Googly and Ligonier. That'll be a big thing. Ligonier days, a ton of people come, huge attraction for that. But the Still Rippers thing too, they've been talking to us. They've been back and forth. It's going to be a really nice thing. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff, and we're still booking day by day as the days go by. So.
Yep, and of course, people can find out about the Fuse's upcoming shows by checking on the Fuse Facebook page.
Yes, sir.
Yep, definitely. And Fuse is a very busy band, so folks, check them out. All right, well, we're going to go with another of your songs. Alex, what would you like to say about In My Head?
Well, I said it earlier. That was a tune that was never really written. My buddy and I were kind of just messing around in his room, and he has this, he's showing me his system and everything, and he just had his microphone in there, and I brought my guitar over, and we wrote the song in a half an hour. Next thing you know, it's recorded in another half an hour, and then an hour later, it's all mixed and it's all ready to go.
Yeah, and some of those songs that come together really quickly and that are fun, they tend to resonate with people because they can kind of identify. And sometimes the best songs are the ones that are put together in half an hour.
It's very catchy too. I mean, that's the punchline too. In My Head, it says it a lot. Very catchy though. That's what I've got.
Let's give it a listen. In My Head, again, music from Alex Shumaker, and you are hearing him on the Homegrown Rocker.
Girl, I haven't been the same since the night you left. Got me running around wishing you were in my bed. The last time we spoke it was a joke, yeah. You didn't care. For some time I've went and done some crimes to get you off my mind. I've went to the bottle and I've pulled on the throttle, yeah. But I can't forget why you're in my head, baby. In my head, baby, in my head. Why you're in my head, baby. In my head, baby, in my head. You're in my head, baby. But now you're in my head and I don't know what to do. Gave you my heart, but I guess that wasn't enough for you. Been thinking about all of them times that I would stay up for you, but didn't know that at the time that you were faking the truth. And now I know that spending my time with you was a mistake. Didn't know you could turn to a snake. I made some choices I ain't wanna make, but I made them, that's just for your sake. Late nights I've been wanting to break, and that's what I just don't wanna stay. There was times where I ain't eat for days, and I just can't get you out of my brain. Girl, I haven't been the same since the night you left. I've been running around wishing that I was dead, laying side by side to a bottle of wine, really wishing you could have seen me in my prime. Just really tired of all your petty lies. It's like you've been wearing some type of disguise. It's got me to the point where I'm my own demise, but I can't forget why you're in my head, baby. In my head, baby, in my head. Why you're in my head, baby. In my head, baby, in my head.
This one.
And again on the Homegrown Rocker, our guest this week is Alex Shumaker. And Alex, we're going to talk about your creative process a little bit. How do songs come together for you?
Well, it's kind of weird, honestly. I mean, it's hard to explain. Like, there's some nights, like, you know, I'm a night owl, so I'll be up very late. You can ask my parents. There's nights I'll be up till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning because I just have all these ideas, and once one idea comes, then another one's there. Like my writing philosophy, like I'll start out with riffs a lot of the time, you know, then I'll go in with a melody, or, you know, I'll hear a drum beat in my head. I'm just like, okay, I gotta pounce on that. You know, that's an idea for that. But recently, I've really had a lot of writer's block. You know, I've been texting a lot of my buddies like, hey, you got an idea for this, and then it kind of opens up, you know, but I could sit there and write instrumentals and riffs for hours, but whenever it comes down to the lyrical side of it, it's been kind of tough. You know, it's different. You know, this new album's kind of just about, I'm not going to necessarily say partying, but, you know, just hanging out with friends and having a good time, you know, and then the other side of it's kind of just about heartbreak. You know, you have those heartbreak songs, you know, it's pretty easy to write a heartbreak record, but it's kind of weird, man. And whenever it comes down to just musical things too, not even whenever like writing, you know, if I'm practicing something, if I'm playing guitar, I'll just try and look up my scales, you know, and just try and make up new stuff, you know. I mean, because there's only so many chords on a guitar, and, you know, only so many things you can do. But you know, my writing kind of just comes out of a lot of personal experiences, and you know, like I said, I could sit here and write instrumentals. I could probably give you a whole instrumental album in a day, you know. But the whole writing is probably my least thing that I'm best at whenever it comes down to, you know, and it really gets at me at times. It frustrates me, you know. But I think a lot of other musicians and a lot of other writers could probably say the same thing themselves, that it's pretty tough. But yeah, I just have a very weird way of going about things, though. But for me, it's like whenever one thing hits, and if it's at that time, I could be laying in bed and like I have to go to bed, I'm going to go down to my studio and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to take a video of it. Because if I don't write it down, then it's gone forever. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just weird, though. different way of doing things for sure.
Yeah, those muses float around in the sky, and if you don't grasp them right away, they disappear.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a common thing. What would you call your biggest influence, musical or otherwise?
Like I said, Dean Castronovo from Journey was definitely the reason I started playing drums. It's hard though. I mean, I've had a lot of guys, through the years, and like I said, I apologize if I forget anybody, but you know who you are though. Whenever I say a lot of guys, if you're listening to this, but like I said, there's been Rich Redmond, Troy Lucetta, Michael Foster from Firehouse, Sean Fuller, Glenn Sobel, Todd Shuckerman. I took a few lessons with Todd over the years. There's just been a lot of people though, and if we're really close, you know who you are. Troy Lucetta from Tesla, a really good friend of mine, has done a lot for me over the years. But whenever it comes down, you just mean like musically or like listening to music, like whatever it comes out through being like the creative side is what you mean, right?
Right.
Okay. I have a lot of bands. I don't really listen to just individual bands anymore. I'm kind of just, I'll listen to certain songs and I'll go in that genre. I like anything really from, I'd probably say like Cole and the Gang to Slipknot. I just have a very if it grooves with me and if it hits me kind of in the heart or I feel the groove, as soon as I start listening to it, then I like it. But, there's been a lot of bands. If I had to probably go in my top 5 right now, and, there's just been so many through the years. It's kind of hard just to say I love that band and I'm taking them in and out. But not in any particular order. Definitely Journey. Journey plays the biggest part for sure. Bob Seger's another one. Was never really into him, and then my dad actually kind of got me into him. Oasis, I'm a huge fan of Oasis. I've liked them for a while, but I never really got into them as much because they were never together until this past year. I went and saw them in Toronto, and one of the coolest experiences of my life to go see them. Just their backstory, too, is insane. Def Leppard for sure. There's just so many. It's definitely really hard to name. And then I get into the countryside. Jason Aldean, Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan. A lot of newer groups coming out too, like Morgan Wallen and Zach Bryan, Treaty Oak Revival, Co Wetzel. It's hard to put it into a list for sure because there's just been so many influences. And then, I get into 80s pop. Don Henley and the Human League and stuff like that. Like I'm very different. I have like a weird music taste. And the 90s I'm a big 90s grunge guy too, and I like some of the 90s softer rock and 2000s of course too, but it's honestly hard to put in, smaller stuff though, man. It's different.
Yeah, kind of a broad musical stew, which I can kind of
I'll listen to
relate
anything. I'm not a big jazz guy. I do like jazz a little bit, but I can groove with anything, though, for sure, if you ask me to. Even some of the newer rap, even if I don't really agree with half of what they're talking about, but some of the stuff's really groovy, though. And those guys who are making the beats, man, that's something I'd really like to be able to do because it's hard work, too, what they're doing, But like I said, I'll listen to anything, though, for sure.
All right. Well, we're going to go with another of your songs at this point. And at this point, tell us about These Nights.
Well, that was a song that I wanted to write about, me and my friends, just messing around and having fun, within life and not taking anything for granted, Like I said, I wish these nights could last forever, That was just one, too. I wrote that with my other buddy, Ryan Reed. We did that in a very short amount of time, and it was something that just came to my head right away, some half personal experience, and half just the grand gist of things and throughout that. But that's also one of my favorites too because it was a little bit different. And I feel like all 4 of my songs that I do have released are different from each other. And they honestly bring in type of a different genre, if you should say. But that was definitely one of my favorites because it really was another one that came from the heart. And, I told a lot of my close friends, I'm like, yeah, I wrote this about us, man. So, yeah, it was kind of just a very short song for sure. I could have wrote a lot more, but I'm honestly planning on here pretty soon. If I do a deluxe for this album, I'm probably going to redo that and do like a very raw version of that song. It's going to be maybe a more studio-fied version. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites for sure. Probably my favorite.
Okay, we'll give it a listen. Again, the song is These Nights, music from Alex Shumaker. And again, we're hearing him on the Homegrown Rocker.
I've been running away from the real me for a while now. It's been coming, can't seem to find my way back home. Mom and Dad been worrying about me, and now I'm getting through it. But my head's been wandering these back roads. Firelight and moonshine and whiskey have been good to me, but late nights made life too hard to see. Good friends and benders are my kind of weather. I wish these nights could last forever. I've been sitting and thinking, pondering this life, drinking, keeping those worries tucked away. Sometimes it's hard to keep those lies that be running deep, like throwing back the big ones in the creek. My friends and I've been running life together. We try and make this last forever. Here we are, just kids, young, dumb, and stupid. We don't know our mouth from our heads. I wish these nights could last forever. Late nights made life too hard to see. We try and make this last forever, keeping those worries tucked away. I wish these nights could last forever. Late nights made life too hard to see. We try and make this last forever.
Q94 Classic Rock.
Where local and regional musicians come to play. The Homegrown Rocker.
And again, thanks everybody for listening to this week's edition of the Homegrown Rocker. Once again, I'm the Professor Jim Price. My guest in the studio, Alex Shumaker. And Alex, talk about your future plans a little bit. What's coming up down the road for you?
Well, I got a lot of shows booked with Fuse. And I also got some of my solo stuff that to finish out the year with. But really this winter, the album's going to be out by January. Hopefully, towards the end. Probably looking end January, I'll have one or two singles out by then. Just getting my own group together. I have a few guys. We're going to do that together. We're looking through some songs right now, and hopefully within the next few weeks we're going to get some practices together and, just look on that. It's kind of cool to have my own group now, and be out front, which is something totally different for me. But, yeah, we're doing that. And, for right now, here in October, just try and get everything hammered out and just look on, because I'm also kind of one of those people, too, that I just go with the flow and it just happens as we go, so, yeah.
All right, and to extend that a little bit, and of course, you've already done a lot in your career thus far, but do you have any long-term goals at this point? What would you like to achieve?
Oh, there's a lot, man. I really want to become a better songwriter for sure, and get a lot more musical content and get a bigger catalog for sure. Really just would like to excel as a full-blown musician in everything that I do, and try and make a lot of people smile. And especially with my own music, I listen to a lot of, my own bands that I really love to listen to and how they make me smile and how they make me feel. I want to do that for a lot of different people, I want to give people that same feeling that I have whenever I'm listening to music. And then as a drummer too, like I said, become a way better drummer and, just do a lot of different stuff. It's kind of hard to explain at the end of the day, but, it more falls back on what I'm doing with my solo stuff,
Yep. Keep developing your skills and keep creating.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All righty. And let's see. What do you enjoy the most about your musical journey so far? What's been the most rewarding part of it for you?
Just the people that you get to meet and the connections, that you run into. The amount of people I've met through the years, they lead you in the right direction at the end of the day. And just the things I've gotten to do as well, whenever it comes down to it, and what all I've learned as well, But yeah, like I said, just the people that I've met, that's one of the big things for sure.
All right. Well, you have a guitar on, and you're going to do a live song for us at this point. What are we about to hear?
So this will be the debut single off the new album. This is Feel Alive. This is a song that I've had the riff for about 5 years now, and I've had about 5 or 6 different types of lyrics to write for it. And then finally I came down to the conclusion that this was the first one I was going to track. And, it was a little different. You're hearing the raw version right now just with me and the guitar. But whenever you first hear it, it's kind of going to rock your socks off a little bit, I feel, because it did that to me for sure. Whenever I finally heard it all put together, everything came together really well. So, yeah.
All right. Let her rip.
All right. It's 4 a.m. and I wanna go home. Can't stay here much longer. Every day it gets harder. I'm missing your face anyways. Can't find any ways to cope. Might as well just pray and hope that you come running back someday. I ain't got much to say. Call me when you're sober, baby, come over. Can't be alone much longer. Pull in my drive, I'll be out in 5. Baby, let me feel alive. Yeah, feel alive. My eyes see tomorrow, but all I see is the past. If I could have you in my life, oh, I'd make our love last. The last few years been a struggle on me, the way we've been fighting. But I know you well, you came from hell. Do it to me one more time. Call me when you're sober, baby, come over. Can't be alone much longer. Pull in my drive, I'll be out in 5. I just wanna feel alive. Yeah, feel alive. Call me when you're sober, I know you're hungover. Baby, let's do it one more time. Call me when you're sober, baby, come over. Can't be alone much longer. Pull in my drive, I'll be out in 5. Baby, let me feel alive. Yeah, feel alive.
On the Homegrown Rocker. And let's get back to our guest, Alex Shumaker, one more time. And one more time on the Homegrown Rocker this week, we're speaking with Alex Shumaker. And Alex, talk about your fan base a little bit. How important are they to what you do?
Well, if I didn't have my fans, well, first off, if I didn't have my parents and my grandma and a lot of our close friends that have helped us through the years and still continue to. I wouldn't really be anywhere, but whenever it comes down to the fans, that's definitely my biggest thing. They've kind of pushed me up through the years, through my drum covers, and they're very supportive for a lot of the stuff that whatever I get into, they're still going to support me, and I love that. So, I appreciate very large fan base too. I've seen people from Brazil, Mexico, all these countries, China, Japan, just all over the world that have been very supportive, and they love what I'm doing. So, and I can't wait for put this album out there and put new things out every day, just for them to see. I love it.
Very cool. And kind of leading in the same vein a little bit, but is there anybody special that you would like to thank for helping your musical journey so far?
Oh, like I said, definitely my parents, my grandmother, they just, through the years, if I didn't have them, really wouldn't be anywhere. I'd like to thank my bandmates as well, too, and my drum tech, Alan. He does a lot, but I mean, there's a lot of people to name, but you all know who you are, if you've helped me through the years. It's very tough to name everybody because there's been a lot, but.
All right. Well, you still have your guitar on, and we're about to hear another one. What are we going to hear?
This one's called Wallen's Song. This was a tune that, I don't know where my first inspiration struck for this, but there's been a lot of songs over the years that have mentioned other songs throughout. I think the biggest one was Old Dominion's Song for Another Time. It said, let's do Brown Eyed Girl, Sweet Caroline, Sweet Child, Saturday Night or something like that. I'm like, I want to do something like that, So I always, like I said, I get inspirations, and I'm always looking off of what everybody else is doing. I'm like, can I do something like that but make it better and, fall into that. So it was actually Morgan Wallen's Keith Whitley, his song called Keith Whitley. He did all these Keith Whitley songs. I'm like, I want to do that, but I want to do Morgan Wallen songs. It's not really an updated version because he just dropped that new album, but, this is pretty... 2023 was whenever I wrote this, and I would play this at fires with my friends. We were on my one buddy's porch one night, and they made me play this song 4 times because they loved it so much. So, yeah, it's one that I'm finally putting on an album and getting ready to record it. But yeah, it's a good tune. So,
all right, let her rip.
A little rain on an American night, and you had me by halftime. At happy hour, we were whiskey sour down at this bar. But those whiskey glasses and your neon eyes weren't no match for me. But I whiskeyed my way on through till I was wasted on you. 'Cause I've been chasing you for some time now, just knowing what I'd do if I ever get you back. Oh girl, where'd I go so wrong? Is it me on whiskey or the way I talk? You got me wondering about the wind, 'cause baby, you're a Wallen song. I'm not good at not talking Tennessee, but I take one thing at a time. You'll stand down like a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. And beer don't help somebody's problem, oh, that's the truth. But everything I love is you proof. 'Cause I've been chasing you for some time now, just knowing that you've been thinking about me. Last night was a good outlook, and I really hope that the devil don't know. You got me heartless again, 'Cause baby, your wallet's song. I'd like to take one last drive down Main and go back to when we were the 98 Braves. But it ain't the same, 'cause I've been chasing you for some time now, just knowing what that I'd do if I ever get you back. Oh girl, where'd I go so wrong? Is it me on whiskey or the way I talk? You got me wondering about the wind. 'Cause baby, you're a wild song. 'Cause baby, you're a wild song.
Once again, live on the Homegrown Rocker, Alex Shumaker and Wallen Song. Once again, sounding pretty darn good.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
All right, Alex, I'm going to ask at least one more question here, and that is, do you have anything else you want to tell our listeners, anything we haven't covered about you so far tonight?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head for everything. I really appreciate you having me on, man. This has been fun, finally getting to do this. And just hope everybody listens to the new album. And, I'm kindly, highly anticipating it for myself. But, and a lot of my friends are ready for it, too. It's just good being involved in so many things now, and I just graduated high school and, I've been talking to a lot of people, getting back in touch with some people too. So, I just can't wait to see what the future holds right now and go from there, man. I appreciate you having me on, Jim.
Yep, definitely. Thanks for being here. And I'm going to kind of answer my own question here a little bit, because I understand that you were quite the athlete in your high school years. Well, talk about your athletic career a little bit.
Yeah, I played baseball for a while, for a long time, and then I gambled with football and basketball, and I'm a huge golfer as well, too. I love golf, but yeah, I definitely miss those days a little bit, just the memories I made with a lot of my buddies, and, the coaches were always a big part, too, and the person I've tried to become as well, but yeah, those were fun times for sure, though.
Yep, and just expanding the scope of what you do. You've been an athlete, and you're making music and enjoying the life, I guess.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy, through the years trying to juggle everything, and my parents have done a very good job with, taking me everywhere, making all the games, and just being there for that. Definitely juggling stuff, though. There was at one point where I was playing on 2 different baseball teams, and then on the weekends I would have shows, and then some days too I'd have a baseball game the one night, the next night I'd have an acoustic show, and doing basketball tournaments from the time I was younger. It was a lot though at one time, but I'd like to thank a lot of my teachers and coaches through the years too, especially through high school, who've helped me through a lot, who have always been there and are rooting for me along the way. So yeah, man, it's good to finally be able to do what I want to do, though, at the end of the day, which is good. But yeah.
All right, and once again, we should review upcoming shows. And people can find those shows on your website too.
They're on my website, and Fuse's website as well. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So, and you guys will be busy in the fall, definitely.
Yes, very busy. Yes, but I love being busy, though.
All
right. Fun.
All right, and and any other websites you want to mention?
No, not that I know of.
Just streaming sites, I guess, to
just
find
look my name up. You'll find it somewhere. Alex Shumaker.
All righty. All right. Well, thank you again, Alex, for being a part of the Homegrown Rocker. And as I say every week, ladies and gentlemen, if you're liking what you're hearing from Alex, get out and see him. Solo performances, Fuse, all around the area. Get out and support this guy and keep encouraging his dreams going forward. Thanks once again, Alex.
Yep, thank you too, Jim. Good seeing you, man.